let's talk about the Pens and the projected lineups and season preview. The top scorers to start off with: Crosby, 42 goals of last season, 52 assists, and 94 points. Malkin, 27 goals, 40 assists, and 67 points. And I think Malkin's numbers are going to keep dropping, as much as it pains me to say it, because it's very hard at his age, at 38 years old, to make a comeback and get those numbers up. Their third leading scorer was Brian Rust, who had 28 goals, 28 assists, 56 points. I've been wanting Brian Rust to score 30 goals for the last few seasons, but I don't know if that's even going to happen at this point. I keep saying he's going to, but still doesn't. He's had chances, but shortened seasons and injuries have kept him from scoring 30 goals. Getzel is now gone. He was one of their leading scorers. Erik Karlsson, 11 goals, 45 assists, and 56 points. His stats obviously dropped. A lot of people in analysis did predict that, because when you have two elite defensemen, the numbers are usually not going to be super high. We saw it with Brent Burns when he was with Erik Karlsson, and when Brent Burns left, his numbers went up, and Karlsson's numbers went up too when he stayed in San Jose at the time. And Letang, 10 goals, 41 assists, played all 82 games. I think he's on the decline now. Rickard Rakell had a down year, only had 37 points, and he missed only a few games, but his stats really dropped, and he's looking to make a comeback to get 30 goals. But anyway, about the Pens' projected lineups, here's their season previews. On the wing, left wing, Rickard Rakell, hoping to bounce back. Sidney Crosby, we don't know what's going to happen, if he's going to have another point per game per season, or is he finally going to reach the decline. Brian Rust on the wing, right wing. That's the first line. These are projected lineups for the 2024-2025 season, according to analysis and daily faceoff. On the second line, left wing, Michael Buttin, who played actually pretty decent after he was finally able to find his game in when he was traded to Pittsburgh. Hopefully he can find his game and keep it up, the progress from last season, since he's young. Evgeny Malkin, second line centerman, and it's going to be like that way for a couple more years until Malkin's no longer able to resume that role. Same with Crosby on first line centerman. And Penn's new player, Rutger McGroarty, who was drafted in 2022. He was a first round pick. He's going to be in the top 6, trying to get some development going and could help the Pens. On the third line, we got young Drew O'Connor, who's going to try to be some good depth pieces. Kevin Hayes, another old player. And then on the right wing, we have Cody Glass, who's going to try his damnedest, I bet, to prove he can still be a really good player and try to get into the top 6 and be that player that he was projected to be. Wyatt Zoller, veteran player for the Pens, won a cup with the Washington Capitals. He's going to be trade bait this season if the Pens don't make the playoffs or aren't going to make it. Noah Chari, who actually played pretty decent with the Pens last season, but he's going to be trade bait too. Sorry to hear, people, that's not me. And Blake Wizot, who was played with Los Angeles. He's joined the Pittsburgh Penguins at age 26, and so the Pens are going to have some new bottom 6, some veterans, and some young players that are supposedly trying to get lineup spots. On the defense pairing, we got Marcus Pettersson, who the Pens will most likely want to try to re-sign, but if they can't, trade him. Then they got Erik Karlsson on the first pairing with Marcus Pettersson as his defenseman partner. And Karlsson, we all know his stats went down. He's going to try to show that he's still an elite player at his age in his early 30s, pushing to mid. Chris Letang, who's now 36 or 37, his stats and stuff are just going to keep declining, I feel, but I think he'll come in handy with the team. Ryan Graves, which a player Kyle Dubé has defended for some reason. I'm surprised he wasn't moved as the second pair defenseman. And Letang's, at this point in his career, he is now a second pairing defenseman at this point in his career. Sebastian Aho, not the Sebastian Aho on the Carolina Hurricanes. He spent 5 seasons in Long Island, has signed a 1-year deal, will most likely be trade bait if the Pens don't make the playoffs. Matt Grzyzek on the third pairing defenseman with Sebastian Aho. On the power play, it's projected to be Michael Bunting, Sidney Crosby, Brian Rust, Erik Karlsson on Web D, and Malkin on Web D. Second power play unit, Roger McCrary, Kevin Hayes, Cody Glass, Rickard Rakell, Chris Letang on the second power play. The penalty kill unit, Noah Acciari, Drew O'Connor, Marcus Pettersson, and Chris Letang, second, Weishauer, Blake Wimsatt, and Ryan Graves and Matt Grzyzek. For goalies, we have Tristan Jarry, who come off a really bad season and once again was losing his job to the backup goaltender. So he's going to try to prove that he's a number one goaltender. And now Nedeljkovic, that's a player that I feel the Pens are going to have as the backup for a couple more years. And also that I feel like if Jarry doesn't play that good, Ned will be taking over the starting role again. So when I look at this projected Pens team, what do I see? I see a team that's going to try to make one last cup run while trying to get younger. But I personally think Kyle Dubas made some good moves getting Cody Glass. That's a move I agree with, to get younger and have some players that will be getting older to help mentor upcoming prospects if Cody Glass finds his game. But this team's going to try to make the playoffs, and I don't think they can do it, because what if Crosby finally reaches the decline and Malkin keeps declining, and Letang, which is going to happen, and Erik Karlsson declines? I just don't see this team making the playoffs. As much as I want to see Crosby get a 4th Stanley Cup and Malkin get a 4th and become the best Russian player of all time, I just don't see it. I don't see any players that could come in and help the Pens, especially with an aging core, and they got Kevin Hayes and Weishauer in the bottom 6. It's not like the bottom 6 is all young players. And I don't see Samuel Poulin maybe not coming in to help the Pens, which he was drafted. He was projected to be a good top 6 winger, but he still hasn't shown up for what he can. And the Pens do have a young goaltender, which is going to be the future, hopefully, but knowing the Pens, and they do have a first-round pick, but knowing the Pens, they'll try to trade it and go for one last cup, which I don't think they should, because I don't see this team making the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, I think they'll just be an 8-seed team. I really think so. New players and old that aren't going to be looking like top 6, but they'll be battling for bottom 6 players. Jesse Puljujarvi, Al Brinstrom from Ottawa, Anthony Behavior. I just said that wrong. Ryan Shea will try to be an extra this season for the Pens. So yeah, the Pens don't have any prospects, and most likely, if they get into the playoffs or have a really good, strong start in halfway through, they're gonna try to trade those first-round picks and prospects to go for one last Stanley Cup. And when I look at this team, and if they don't make it, I say they will barely miss it. I say by 2 points, 4, or if they do make it, they will be a wild card team. I don't see them finishing third, second. I see them just being a wild card team, and we know how hard the Atlantic is if they were to finish in versus an Atlantic team. The Metro is a little more tough, but I don't think it's tough as it used to be. So yeah, these are my thoughts on the Pens. For prospects coming up that would like to see try is Isaac, Owen Pickering, but I don't see a lot of these players as elite for the future. Knowing the Pens, they'll probably trade them. In the farm team, they got Joe Blomqvist, who is projected to be a future backup or maybe a decent starter for the Pens. So it's going to be interesting how this team does it. So yeah, my prediction, if make playoffs are, I said a wild card, 8th or 7th, and if miss it, I expect this team to be very mediocre. But we'll see what happens. What do you think? Wait in the comments below.